Welcome back. So last episode, we saw a lot of water crossings. Now I did extend all the breathers before we left. The first job when we get home is to actually make sure they worked. What in the world is he doing here? Relocating a number plate? We say goodbye to what could be my last V8 cruiser. As rumours have it, we're going to stop production in 2025. Also in this episode, we go searching for that elusive factory catch can. Is there one in there? What are these springs for? Now back to river crossings. You see here, back in 2020, we got flooded in up north and we had to do a dash for cash to get out. Otherwise we would be stranded for days. Now on that particular trip, this is what the oil looked like. It was totally contaminated with water. So this is the front diff here. So this trip, how do we go? I take the filler cap off slowly because if it does overfill with water, generally it will run out as it's over full. And then here in bullet truck, where it really does get contaminated totally with
basically
water.
The bottom, look at all that water.
The front diff on the 79, we can clearly say there's no water. The oil condition looks good. We check the rear, the oil looks clean. The transfer case, now it's a touch over full, no water in that. So the gearbox last to check and the oil condition looks good there. So next on the list is we take the winch off bullet truck. Now this poor winch, if you remember that massive recovery where we used that Roadrunner 6.8 horsepower low mount winch all day long where we broke the output shaft into the night. What do we have planned for that winch? Now what I'll do here, I'm going to take a measurement of the ride height of the front of the 79. It's 940 millimeters.
What do you mean you can't get a winch in the factory bumper? So ARB 6 or 8 months away from having a winch bar. So I've removed a couple of bits and pieces and guess what? There's room.
Look at it all.
So we travel on our own most of the time with the caravan in tow. Sometimes it's not that easy to recover a stuck vehicle. So to be self-sufficient and having a winch on the front does give you that luxury. So you saw there we were winching off the beach on Fraser Island in the white 79 and here in the Hilux a long time ago, winching up Big Sandy in Yeppoon. So we've got a bit of 6mm plate, we've drilled the 4 holes in it, basically using it as a template on the 4 factory mounting points that the 79 has to offer. What we're using a bit of 10mm flat bar as a fin, so to speak, to give that plate a bit of strength.
Now as far as strength goes, mounting a winch on the bottom. Now typically, mounting a winch in a winch bar, you would be bolting it to the face of the winch from behind. Now that does still work. As you can see here with bullet truck, we've got that 10mm flat plate that the low mount's bolted to. And the decades of winching that this bar's put up with, never have those bolts moved, let alone come loose.
Amelia had some purple paint that she used on one little project of hers. So we thought we'd use it. Now this is just to protect against rust in this small time that we need it for this one trip we're doing to Tassie. While that's drying, and I've got my paint shoes on, we've got gloss black in the Duramax. Fortuner needs a bit of a tidy up on the Rhino bar. So this bar, we got this bar in 2018. This vehicle sits on the road. We're not far from the beach. We did have dramas with this Rhino bar and they replaced that front hoop there as it started to rust away, but that looks schmick now. More paint, blue paint. What we're going to do here, I've got a starter motor to put in the TTR. The old one's packed it in. So we'll get a bit of blue paint on that, why not? And I'm hoping it is just the starter motor. Seems to be working there, but there's no real load on it. All right, it's good to go. Everything's dried. It's a nice sunny day. Fingers crossed. That seems to be doing what it's supposed to do, just like a new one. Back to the project at hand. We've got to get this winch bolted up to the cradle. Now while it's temporary on this cradle for this one run, I'm going to be using this winch in whatever bar it is that we do decide to put on the front of this vehicle. Now for the hard part. Now I did struggle a little bit in getting this in, but having had the plate fit up to the mounting bolts to start with, it was all just about holding it up there and getting the bolts in. It's going to look good now, any undercarriage shots, a bit of purple showing. So now we need to make a hole to access the rope. Now I'm hoping that just cutting away this number plate holder will be enough, and that way we're not cutting into any of the chrome plastic. Yeah, it's not going to be enough. The winch is still a lot lower than that opening. Don't cringe, it's only for one trip. If I can get to the free spool from this spot here, I don't have to cut a hole in the top. Not that I'm scared of cutting holes. So we'll probably just get away with how low that is. Again, this isn't a winch challenge truck. This is solely there to get us out of any trouble we may get ourselves into. Tidy this up. I know I've got something laying around here in this scrap aluminium pile. This channel should be perfect.
Is this what you've been doing the whole time? Yeah. I've never seen a bar with a...
It works. Winch. I know, but I made the whole frame, the cradle and everything. How good is it?
Awesome.
It works, so we can go to Tassie with a winch now.
Did it still have that little bit there?
Yeah.
Oh. But you cut all this out
Yeah.
with that there.
I put the winch
Awesome.
in and made the thing up.
Sick. When you get the bumper bar, the actual bull bar,
Yeah.
that'll be worth it.
Yeah.
Heaps. Works.
I even bled for it. Look, there's blood on there. All right, cool.
Did you film it?
Still filming. Nice.
Yep.
Seal of approval. So a couple of days later to let the front suspension take in that weight, and we've got a sag of only 8mm with the weight that we just put on. And have a look at those pretty cool number plates. I couldn't help myself. And what's funny, when I ordered these online, you could still get Auto 70, Auto 76, and Auto 78 for anyone else that's chasing this particular type of plate. So with limited time before we leave for Tassie, on the list was to clean up this front section of the winch and maybe stick a fair lead on it. So I've got that little bit of time up my sleeve. We want to get the ARB compressor under the bonnet. We've got this old mud guard. See if we can make that work. That's twice this episode we've stolen from the rich to give to the poor. Bullets winch the first time, and now the Fortuna's compressor. Unfortunately, no time to paint it though. Tour Team Bullets, main sponsors, right up the front here. Penrite Oils and Roadrunner Offroad. I think that looks as good as I can get it, having the winch in there until we do get a bull bar on it. So as I said earlier, we say goodbye to the 2021 79 I had. Now let me tell you, I wasn't sure when I bought the automatic how I would feel a couple of thousand Ks into owning it. But it's grown on me in that time, and the decision was made. The manual one must go. It's gone to a lovely young bloke. It's going to country New South Wales. On to the ARB compressor install now. So we've drilled the 4 mounting holes, and it's very important to get paint on any hole you drill. We got it in. It's tight. There's even a captive nut there for the relay. But what I'm worried about, and I think my alarm guy actually wanted to put the siren here, so there's not really too much more room. But I'm worried when all the aftermarket guys start doing the bigger airboxes that that's going to have to get moved. But for this one trip, this is where we'll be airing up after each air down. We might have to trim the threads of those bolts. All the travel this bit of burnt toast gets. We're spending a lot of time on my bucket over this guard, working on this compressor. It's really weird. leaning on this, you just feel like you're going to break it. It's good though, you got a good work platform at the front there. In fact, it's nearly big enough to put a drop saw on. Fair bit of running around to do today, and first stop is going to be Carroll Springs, where Mark's going to give us another set of those EFS N80s. Look, we got 6 months out of them. We've pushed them quite hard, but on that last run we did, we got caught in a little bit of a pickle. So lucky it's the end of the season, because that is a Gonski. Look at that, that's where it's wrapped. And also this time, we'll get some colour on them. One thing's for sure though, Brian definitely fixed the fuel issue we had when we were up at Mudgee last. It really was failing us on those big angles, but as you can see here on this run, the angles weren't affecting the motor at all. Second stop, Penrite Oils. And what we're picking up here is the prize pack for the Best Drive Award. Plus we've got gear oil for each entrant. I'd like to just announce too that Penrite Oils have invited us back to be ambassadors for them in 2024. We're over the moon to hear that. I can't wait for the first drive till you drop, 2024. Up at the Central West 4-wheel drive park.
Oh, that was a tumble rumble.
Now have a look at some of these images. It's going to be gnarly. Some of the hill climbs we've got are not going to be easy. Now we've got the brand new Roadrunner 6.8 horsepower, high speed, low mount winch fitted on Bullet. As you would have seen earlier, us borrowing the old one to put on the 79.
Right here, you're going to come down a big rock now. Ready?
Yep.
Beautiful. Awesome.
Feels like it doesn't go into top gear until it's at 95 kilometers an hour or more. So gear's back at 90. Now I'm physically trying to put it in 6th, but it won't go. And when I go up to 95, so this is what's recommended for towing. You're in the manual and you're in 4th gear, but look at that. 3,000 at 100k an hour. I mean, that's worse than the V8. But we will test that out in the upcoming trip to Tasmania. For fuel consumption numbers, everybody's saying that it will actually surprise. One more stop to make.
Thank you for calling Western Filters.
It's Danny with the 2.8 79. How you going?
Good, mate. How are you?
Good, mate. I'm over at Penrite Oils, just a few minutes away from you. Do you want me to pop in and you guys can have a look, see if there's a can in there or not?
We can, yeah, that's fine.
All right, I'll pop in. I'll see you in about 10 minutes.
No worries, thanks, mate.
Thanks, mate. Bye.
The destination is on your left. 47 Forge Street. Arrived.
So the verdict is no visible catch can on this. Typically, your breather hose is actually a rubber hose. So if you can see it here, it runs from A to B. But in the middle, there's a stainless steel fitting. And on that stainless steel fitting, it tees in with a rubber hose there into the cooling system. So what the boys think is this could be an overseas type setup. It kind of looks like it's some kind of cooler for the EGR. Together with the boys from Western Filters, we couldn't find another breather coming from the rocker cover. So what I've read in reviews and what I've been told on forums is that this catch can is internal and it takes the fumes and oil back to the crankcase. Now, not a good idea if you're not doing a lot of kilometers, because I know when I empty Shell's can, I do get water first before any type of oil. So that's condensation. Cars that are doing short distances, you do not want that water back in the crankcase. I'm assuming that that hose is full of coolant and it's tapped into it there. So if I was to undo that clamp, I would get burnt. So potentially a sensor, it could be a sensor in there, we're not sure. But it's not your typical cut your breather hose and tee off a can to it, like well all the other cars that I've done. So this is the can, this is your A and B. And what you do, instead of that hose running from A to B, you tap into it with a can. Now, I mean, who's game enough
to take that out of the equation and have a can there in its place. So some more research before we actually put a can on this motor. Now, as we all know, water and oil do not mix. But the boys also said that they would like to use this spot. So the alarm guy wanted to put his siren there. I've temporarily put the compressor there, but it would be a good spot for the catch can. Although I did mention to him, I feel the bigger air boxes are going to get made. The space is there. Potentially, there's a captive nut there, and then there's a thread here. There's talk of potentially putting it in this area. And that way we can secure this hose. Flopping around in the wind like a donkey in the fog. I must say, while it's awkward to get used to this coming down from the top, this gets so hot to touch if you've been driving for a while. This is where it sits, and there's your radiator. All that heat is coming into that. Maybe that bracket there might melt too. So it's what, 2600 Ks old. It's been a Toyota around the 1200 from memory. I haven't even pulled this dipstick out to check the oil. So that's quite black. Now, I'm used to seeing that in bullet truck after a couple of 1,000 kilometers, but the V8 used to stay clean until well and truly past 6,000. Do we all want to see a bit of lift on this auto and get these 35-inch Kumo MT71s under it and take it out there and see how the 4-cylinder fares up that muddy hill? The grey 79 made it, the white 79 winch. We'll have that later on in the year. Before we hook up the van and embark on our tour of Tasmania, the last fuel numbers running around town, a little bit of highway work, they're pretty good. 14.2 litres per 100 kilometres. So that's a little less than 2 litres per 100 worse off than Shell's Fortuna, but a much heavier vehicle. Also too, the alarm software is nearly good to go. Toyota need a car to test it on. I'm not sure, maybe I should put my hand up. But I hope you enjoyed this video. So in the upcoming series, we're going to have lots more fuel numbers on this big tow down to Tassie, and hopefully some good footage. We can't wait. And as always, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this one, a lot of little bits and pieces. And as always, thanks for watching.